I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. He has fired our imaginations with his humility. Now Pope Francis is capturing our hearts with his humanity. Following Sunday Mass at the small Vatican church that is the parish for papal employees, the Holy Father bounded out the church door, still wearing his vestments, to greet the congregation. And like a simple parish priest, the Pope warmly embraced each person as they emerged, and he had a humble request of two youngsters. Pope Francis then headed out through the gates of Vatican City right onto the streets of Rome. The crowds, held back behind by police barricades, stretched and strained to shake his hand or simply touch his garments. The people had come hoping for a quick glimpse of Francis. Instead, they received a lifelong memory. Earlier during the Mass, the Pope focused his homily on forgiveness, recalling what he told one woman worried that she had done very bad things.
È meglio. Infatti Gesù, a lui piace che gli racconti queste cose. E lui si dimentica. Il Signore mai si stanca di perdonare. Mai. Siamo noi che ci stanchiamo di chiedere il perdono.
The Holy Father repeated that theme of forgiveness along with mercy during the first Angelus of his pontificate, delivered from his window overlooking St. Peter's Square. One difference, the size of that crowd. The mayor of Rome estimates 300,000 people filled the square and surrounding streets. While discussing a book on mercy, the Holy Father gave them a glimpse of his humor.
In questi giorni ho potuto leggere un libro di un cardinale, il cardinale Casper, un teologo in gamba, un buon teologo, sulla misericordia. E mi ha fatto tanto bene quel libro, ma non credete che faccio pubblicità ai libri dei miei cardinali, Noi ci comprende, ci attende, non si stanca di perdonarci se sappiamo tornare a Lui con il cuore contrito.
And Francis concluded the Angelus with a reminder and an unusual farewell, but first, the Holy Father's blessing.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus. Non dimenticate questo, il Signore mai si stanca di perdonare. Siamo noi che ci stanchiamo di chiedere il perdono. Buona domenica e buon pranzo.
Our man at the Vatican, Grant Galicio, hardly had time for lunch. He was on the job nearly non-stop, covering the Holy Father's Whirlwind Weekend.
It was a busy weekend for Pope Francis. On Sunday, he delivered his first Angelus address to crowds filling St. Peter's Square. But he did something even more daunting on Saturday. He met the press.
I got here an hour and a half early today, and there was already an immense line going down. Everybody was freezing. It was 36 degrees out, but nobody wanted to give up a place in line. There was just this tremendous eagerness to see him.
I was really impressed. It just showed how much you can connect with people even if you're not speaking their language. He only spoke in Italian and then a little bit in Spanish, and yet, he charmed people.
One of the first things that really struck me was after Archbishop Celi addressed him. When he finished his address, the Pope sprung up from his chair and walked over to him. Now popes don't usually do that.
Ha detto, non ti dimentichi dei poveri.
He said some really powerful things. I mean, relating the moments in the conclave when he was being elected and this moment of danger, as he called it, that was coming down on him, and his friend, the Brazilian Cardinal Hummus, giving him a hug and a kiss and telling him, don't forget about the poor.
He's been stressing a lot that he is first and foremost the Bishop of Rome, and that's the reason he's also Pope and leader in charity of the universal church.
Pope Benedict was more reserved. That was his personality, and I really think he tried very hard to do outreach and engage with people, but you could tell that it just went a little bit against his natural nature, whereas this man, it just seems to come so easily for him.
He is able to engage by just kind of reducing the audience to individual people.
Pope Francis doesn't make these gestures. He just comes out and kind of waves, and it's all very kind of like your parish priest, or, you know, he's a man of the people, really is.
If he's going to also follow through with acts of government to the messages he's been sending these past few days, then we are in for a really fun, interesting, and surprising ride.
It remains to be seen how he will shape this papacy theologically, but certainly in terms of his personality, he's been a great hit so far.
And while Grant was hard at work compiling his report, another Currents news team grabbed several other reporters for instant reactions to the Holy Father's words. And if they are any gauge, this Pope could become a media favorite.
He's an excellent Pope. So far, he's giving a very good example, and that's exactly what we need. He's very much a people's person. He doesn't like formalities. He doesn't like people bending down, kissing his hand. He doesn't like that. He likes for people to know that he's a humble person, and he is a humble person, and that's exactly what we need. We need someone who gives a good example.
We're in for a big surprise. He's a completely new deal. Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
He'll be able to evade a certain warmth to the people, and that will be very helpful for evangelization, I believe.
He's just kind of talking as if he's talking one-on-one with people, and the journalists loved it. I think at the very end, too, there was a moment where journalists were a bit surprised and wondered what was going on, because he was supposed to give his blessing. Well, he announced that because there were some non-believers and some non-Catholics, he would give the blessing in silence, but he would give it to everyone because they're all children of God. This is a man with great respect for everyone, I think, in that room, and I think right now reporters love him.
And the papal expert George Weigel loves what's happening in these early days of the new pontificate. Weigel says he thinks Pope Francis embodies the church of the future in a very profound way, and if he reforms the Vatican and becomes Catholicism's principal evangelist, Weigel believes the Holy Father will do precisely what the church needs for the new millennium. But for today, a bit of secular business for the Pope. He met with Argentina's president, Cristina Kirchner. The two leaders greeted each other at the Santa Marta residence, where the Holy Father is living temporarily while the Vatican apartment is readied. As a gift, the president gave the Pope a scarf and equipment to make traditional Argentine tea, said to be a favorite of the Holy Father. And he gave her images of St. Peter's Basilica and several books on church doctrine. Previously, Pope Francis called her support for same-sex marriage in his homeland, Argentina, as, quote, a plan to destroy God's plan. President Kirchner said the comment reminded her of the Inquisition. As we can see here, today's session was very cordial. Humble is the word used most frequently to describe Pope Francis. Now we learned and see more evidence of his unassuming ways that are providing inspiration to the world.
From the moment he stepped out on the balcony as Pope, his message was one of simplicity.
Fratelli e sorelle.
Brothers and sisters,
Buonasera.
good evening. As a cardinal in Buenos Aires, he rode the bus, and in his new job, Pope Francis is sticking to old habits.
All of a sudden, the Pope left Santa Marta house, passed to the car that was set for him, that was waiting for him, and get on the bus, asking if there is some place available.
Brazilian Father Antonio Hofmeister couldn't believe his eyes.
We were shocked. We were clapping hands for the Pope, and at the same time we were shocked. And he said, well, I think I'm going to sit here with Raimundo.
Cardinal Bergoglio took the name of Francis after St. Francis of Assisi, who gave up a life of wealth and privilege to serve the poor. Pope Francis is trying to set an example of simplicity, of somebody, even though he's the head of the Vatican state, is giving up a lot of the luxuries of that position. Now, we're in the church of San Francesco d'Assisi a Ripa Grande in Rome, and this is the oldest Franciscan church in the city. This room is the cell where St. Francis used to sleep when he would visit Rome and he was treating sick pilgrims. It's very bare. This was built in the 16th century. It was not here when St. Francis was alive, but here is a relic from the days of St. Francis. This is the rock where he would lay his head to sleep. He didn't use a pillow. In Argentina, Pope Francis championed the poor. In this age when money makes the world go round, perhaps he's reminding the world it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man or a powerful man to enter the kingdom of God. His simple style is already shaking up the Vatican.
But I can tell you that it does send some jolts through the system here, which is so deeply rooted in tradition and beautiful ceremonies and following the book.
A book Pope Francis is throwing out the window. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Rome.
The U.S. State Department agrees the Pope is a man of humility. Secret cables from our embassy at the Vatican describe him as reluctant to accept high honors or high office and point out that he commutes to work on a bus. State concludes that he exemplifies the virtues of a wise pastor and would appeal to cardinals electing a new pope. The cables were sent to Washington before the conclave that elected Pope Benedict in 2005. Well, why the name Francis? The Pope explains next. Welcome back. The massive inauguration for Pope Francis will be celebrated tomorrow in St. Peter's Square. Please join me and the entire Currents News team right here at 10 a.m. for complete coverage. Among those attending, Patriarch Bartholomew I, the leader of the world's Orthodox Christians. This will be the first time an Orthodox leader has attended a papal inauguration since the church split apart during the Great Schism in the year 1054. Now, before the break, our man on the scene, Grant Galicio, reported on the Holy Father's Saturday audience with several thousand members of the news media. The Holy Father was welcomed with applause and music. He thanked the reporters for their valuable work during the conclave, and he urged them to communicate truth, beauty, and goodwill. After the remarks, several journalists had the chance to meet the Pope personally. Alessandro Forlini is a reporter for RAI, Italian television and radio. He's blind and was accompanied by his guide dog, Asia. Afterwards, he described what happened.
The Pope asked me, "What's your name? What do you do?" And then I asked him if he could give a special blessing for my daughter, for my wife, and he did. And then he thought about my dog, saying, "And one for the dog." He reached down and patted him.
Much of what Pope Francis told the journalists concerned how he made the decision to choose the name Francis.
Alcuni non sapevano perché il vescovo di Roma ha voluto chiamarsi Francesco. Alcuni pensavano a Francisco Saverio, a Francisco de Sales, anche a Francisco de Assisi. Io gli racconterò la storia. Nell'elezione io avevo accanto a me il arcivescovo emerito di San Paolo e anche prefetto emerito della Congregazione per il Clero, il cardinale Claudio Umes, un grande amico, un grande amico. Quando la cosa diveniva un po' pericolosa, lui mi confortava, no? E quando i voti sono saliti a 2/3, diviene l'applauso consueto perché è stato eletto il Papa. E lui mi abbracciò, mi baciò e mi ha detto: non ti dimentichi dei poveri. E quella parola è entrata qui, i poveri, i poveri. Poi, subito, in relazione ai poveri, ho pensato a Francesco de Assisi. Poi ho pensato alle guerre, mentre lo scrutinio proseguiva fino a tutti i voti e Francesco è l'uomo della pace. E così è venuto il nome nel mio cuore, Francesco d'Assisi. E per me l'uomo della povertà, l'uomo della pace, l'uomo che ama e custodisce il creato. In questo momento in che noi abbiamo col creato una relazione non tanto buona, no? È l'uomo che ci dà questo spirito di pace, l'uomo povero. Come vorrei una chiesa povera e per i poveri.
After his election, the Pope, himself a Jesuit, telephoned the Jesuit Mother House in Rome to thank the Father General for a letter the pontiff received. Now, the young doorman who answered the call at first did not believe he was speaking with the Pope, understandably. But finally, convinced it was Francis, the young man became very nervous. The Holy Father calmed him down and told him not to worry, saying he'd wait as long as necessary to be connected. And the call finally did go through. The annual St. Patrick's Parade up Fifth Avenue on Saturday drew 2 million people to the celebration on Saturday. Bagpipers and marching bands led the march past Irish spectators from all over the world. Green was the color of the day, from green hats to finger paint and even green suspenders. Despite the cold and occasional snow, the crowds cheered and waved their Irish flags. This was the 252nd time St. Patrick has been honored on Fifth Avenue. Ireland's Prime Minister, or Taoiseach, was in our diocese on St. Patrick's Day. He journeyed to Breezy Point in Queens to support the residents battered by last year's great storm. Our Antonina Zelinska was there as well.
With Superstorm Sandy still fresh on their minds, the Irish from Breezy Point came together as a community to celebrate Mass with their Taoiseach.
The current Taoiseach, or head of the Irish government, is Enda Kenny.
I think it's important to be able to demonstrate solidarity with people who have come through a difficult time. And we hope that the community in Breezy will continue with its heart and soul, and that in years to come it will be rebuilt even stronger than ever before.
Well, we're strong people, and we've been through a lot, and we're together in good times and in bad times, and it's our faith that gives us the joy in our life, and it's the faith that gets us through the hard times.
The faith of the Irish people is inseparable from their national identity. They really see it as who they are, and Ireland recognized that this was a good Irish enclave, and they sent volunteers from Ireland to help, and also I think contributions to help the recovery efforts. So we're really grateful, and that's why I'm here today to say thank you.
It was an honor for the Prime Minister to come so we could welcome him, and through him to thank all of the people from the Irish community in Ireland, obviously, who have been so generous to us.
It's always good to understand that the real values of community, of assistance to people, of assistance to families, is still there waiting to be tapped, as exemplified in this hall here, where the proceeds to put this together, to renovate it, have come from the Irish taxpayer as a symbol of the links that we have with the great United States.
A lot of Irish athletes, the Gaelic Players Association, really, with money from the Irish government, put this place back together again in about 10 days, if maybe even less than that.
Another cause for celebration during the visit of Taoiseach Kenny was the feast day of St. Patrick. Jennifer Linehan said she is grateful for the opportunity to be joyous. Superstorm Sandy forced her out of her home, and she has not yet been able to return.
We were so hurt over seeing our community so badly destroyed that it was nice knowing that they came here to help. We needed something to bring all our hopes up, knowing that something still good is there.
Monsignor Curran said he is looking to the future with optimism.
Breezy is holding up, where we're coming back slowly but surely, and it'll be whatever it looks like physically. The soul of Breezy will still be what it's always been, a place of faith and neighborliness and generosity.
I'd like to think that in the time ahead, Breezy will come back stronger than it's ever been. It's a place that your children can grow up to be proud of.
Thank you for coming, Taoiseach.
Reporting from Breezy Point, this is Antonina Jelinska with Currents.
Now, these high steppers are not dancing in New York or Dublin. They're on stage in Shanghai, China, demonstrating St. Patrick's appeal to people everywhere. Now, the dragon is probably a uniquely Chinese touch, but everything else seemed to follow tradition, from the dancers to the pipers to the wearing of the green. The event was open to anyone who wanted to participate. Although the weather today doesn't want to cooperate, spring does start on Wednesday. As the winter season draws to a close, our Jim Mancari traveled to Brooklyn for a senior moment on ice, a Catholic high school senior moment.
Seniors from the Catholic High School Hockey League skated Saturday night in this year's Senior Classic, played at Abe Stark Arena in Coney Island.
Well, we started this years ago when Mike Mitchell was chairman. I guess it had to go back about 10 years. Our idea was to have something for the kids at the end of the season. You know, give something for the seniors so they can have a good time. This is it. This is the last game they're going to play, last hockey game in their high school career, and have some fun.
Teams from the Diocese of Brooklyn and Rockville Center squared off against teams from the Archdiocese of New York. The Archdiocesan team earned an 8-4 victory in the contest. St. Francis Prep, Holy Cross, St. Edmund Prep, and Xaverian represented the Brooklyn Diocese, with 2 seniors from each team being selected to play in the Classic.
It was a pretty big honor, you know, as a freshman coming into Xaverian, I've always wanted to play, to be a big part of this. You know, it's a fun game, you know, get to play with all the other teams, you know, see how it is, like kind of like an all-star game, so it's pretty fun.
It's a good game for them to come out here and play against each other. You compete all year, you know, you're playing 16 games against these guys, grinding it out. It's only 2 divisions, so it's their one chance to kind of play with each other. They're all, you know, pretty much from the same area, and I know the kids look forward to it. I look forward to it, so it's important to have this game.
Unlike most high school sports that take place after school or on the weekends, hockey players practice whenever the rink's available, which can be early in the morning or later on at night.
It's definitely a lot of dedication. I mean, you have to keep your grades up so you can play every game, and you have to make sure that you're here on time, ready to play, so that your team is always, you know, going at its hardest, going best.
You play against these kids all year, and the headaches for you during the year because you don't know how to stop these kids, and now you get the luxury of having them on your team. So it's going to be nice to have a couple of these kids from St. Anthony's and Chaminade, you know, some of the better schools in the league on your team to coach.
Best 4 years of my life playing for them. I loved it. All the fans, you know, all the students came to our games. It was a great experience.
Well, this game is probably my last game of my life. It was a great honor. I didn't expect it in the beginning of the year, but when the coach told me I was playing, I couldn't turn it down. I was ecstatic.
It's fun. I mean, this year's even more fun because we have a championship game on Monday, but it's been great. I'm definitely going to remember it forever.
Well, it's a big deal since I'm a senior and everything. You know, just really going to wrap up the whole season together and hopefully end it with a bang.
I think it's terrific. They'll have something, hopefully they'll remember their time in the Catholic High School Hockey League. And they're playing for their school. To me, that's nothing better than playing for your high school.
The Senior Classic was a fitting send-off for the high school hockey players who will certainly use the values they've learned on the ice in the next phase of their lives. Reporting for Currents, I'm Jim Mancari.
And thank you for watching. Please remember to join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our special coverage from St. Peter's Square of the inaugural Mass for Pope Francis. And we leave you tonight with another look at this amazing Pope with his people. I'm Liz Faublas. For all of us at Currents, have a good night. I'm Liz Fabulous. Tonight on Currents, the inauguration of Pope Francis. The entire Currents news team will report from the Vatican and St. Peter's Square on the Mass that officially starts Pope Francis's ministry. Our total team coverage of a magnificent day tonight on Currents.